Hey TCS viewers, Chris Niccolls here from the camera store. Now last night Jordan and I had our porta party, a pretty crazy port tasting party that just also happened to coincide with a very important Flames game. Now we came back from a 3-0 deficit to win 7-4 and get us through to the next round of playoffs. So 17th Ave would have been crazy yesterday. The Red Mile was ignited and we're out here now today. Now it's pretty clean. I was expecting to see a lot of garbage and a lot of crying Vancouver Canucks fans, but we don't have that, but we got a really lively cityscape here, lots of people, and we're gonna take out the brand new Canon Rebel T6S and T6i and do a video here from the street. So it should be fun, come with me. Now with the T6 cameras coming into the lineup of the Rebel series, we've got a lot of Rebel cameras on the market. I mean, SL1s, T5s, T5is, now the two T6s. Frankly, too many, honestly. I think we're gonna see some of those cameras disappear, but so far they're all being marketed. Now the T6s represent a very, very big change here in a lot of ways. We've been dealing with the same 18 megapixel sensor now for a long time in this Rebel lineup. You know, the 70D got an update, the 70 Mark II got an update. Now we finally have brand new 24 megapixel sensors. That's a good welcome move from Canon. I mean, I know numbers don't mean everything, but when you got Nikon and Pentax rocking high megapixel cameras, you also need to get that number up there. It's just a marketing strategy and it's important. Now the other thing I noticed about the T6s, they're bigger bodies, and that's a strange move because, you know, with all the mirrorless craze going on, I would have expected a lot of these SLRs to get smaller. The grips are very Canon-like, but it is a heavier feeling camera. It's a solid feeling camera and frankly bulky. So Canon's going for an interesting strategy here. We'll see if it pays off. Now, of course, we're doing a review on the T6i and the T6s, but I'm mostly going to shoot on the T6s, and it's important to understand what the major differences are. Now, frankly, in my opinion, because the price point's so close, I would probably just go up to the S model. We're getting the back dial control knob here. We're getting an LCD on the top, very much like a 70D or a 70 Mark II. This also does promise to have a slightly better hybrid autofocusing system, should help us out in live view. We got the same sensor, the same kind of body design, the same kind of feel and weight and grip. Other thing too that I'm noticing, just as a side point, the viewfinders on these cameras. This is kind of a downside. We're finding on the I and the S that we're going to a lower magnification. And the first thing we saw when we looked through here is it is quite small, quite compact. You don't get a very large magnified view. And that's strange because the overall prism assembly is fairly bulky. So, you know, if we're gonna compete against mirrorless cameras, we gotta really hit up the advantage of an SLR, and that is this classic optical viewfinder. I would have liked it to have been bigger. All right, so another big change we have on the T6S over the T6i is this back control dial. You know, very much like 70Ds and 7Ds. And I like that. That's one feature I've always liked on Canons because it lets you change your exposure compensation very easily. So here I'm gonna shoot just backlit leaves right in the sun, and I can very quickly just add some exposure with that dial and take my shot. Now on the other Rebels, you're gonna have to find that AV button, hold it down and turn the dial. It works fine, but I do like this. It's lockable and it kind of makes this camera feel very familiar if it's a backup for somebody with one of those higher end bodies. Now when it comes to lenses, the T6 cameras are going to be offered with the 18 to 55 STM or the 18 to 135 STM. Both good choices, they're flexible, and you are going to get that nice stepless live view focusing. We're going to try that in just a bit here. But today, for being on this street, I'm going to rock one of these new Canon 35mm f2.IS lenses. I like it. I mean, it's a little bit bulky, but it's going to give me that 50mm equivalent. It's going to give me that nice soft depth of field, and of course, it's a nice choice on these cameras. You know, it's funny, I'm just holding both cameras side by side here and they're just so similar. Overall, I think it's really more of a marketing difference. You know, the 6i is really aimed at the entry-level enthusiast, and the 6S is going to give some people who want a more professional feeling camera that kind of capability. But in the end, they're basically the same beast. Now when it comes to video on both cameras here, we've got standard fare, 30 frames per second at 1080, but I was actually very surprised to find that 60 frame per second options are only at 720p, and this day and age, that's quite disappointing. I do like the handling though. I mean, again, Canon know what they're doing when it comes to video on an SLR. Great punch-in features, the touchscreen's very easy, and you can change manual exposure, unlike other brands, without having to go out of live view and then back into it. No real differences between the two T6s other than in HDR mode. I'm going to try that out in just a bit on the T6S. Also, you guys are going to find here in video capability modes that if you want to get things like all-eye compression or IPB, you're going to have to go to something higher up like the 70D or, well, maybe other brands. All right, now there's a much talked about feature on the T6S that's not present in the T6i, and that's this HDR video capability. Now, it sounds exciting at first, you know, high dynamic range video. Okay, what's that? Is it a log file? Well, no, unfortunately not. It's kind of a gimmicky thing. I mean, first off, you don't get any manual control, auto only, so you have no control over your shutter speeds or, you know, depth of field. It's silly. And as you see from the test footage here, it's not a huge difference, one with and one without, both in the automatic mode. And you're gonna see slightly boosted shadows. I mean, that's pretty much all it is. It'll be really nice is to have better compression ratios or codecs, or I don't know, maybe even a log file. C-Log would be great, but you know that Canon's just not gonna put anything useful from their Pro video line into these cameras. And that's unfortunate because they used to really be the king of DSLR video. Oh well, don't use it, and if you get a 6i, you're not missing out on much. All right, so I'm gonna take a shot here. It looks like somebody had some fun last night, and I don't know, kneeling in puke or worse, I don't know, but I'm gonna use the LCD screen here in live view to take the shot because I don't wanna get my whole body shadow in the light of this photo. And it's a good opportunity also to test the autofocusing here. Now I got the 35 f2 on right now. It's not an STM lens, and yet we're getting nice, smooth, quick autofocusing. It does go a little bit past the target and then back. STM lenses will have a much smoother appearance there. But I'm impressed with the speed. This is using a hybrid CMOS autofocusing system, not the dual pixel you'd find on the 70D or 7D Mark II, but I'm very impressed with the speed. It's very usable. All right, so I want to talk about one of the features that the T6S incorporates that you won't find in the T6i, and it's actually a very useful one. In live view still shooting mode here, I can engage a servo mode. Now when I'm in servo autofocusing, it'll track moving subjects in the live view. And of course the touchscreen on these cameras makes it really easy to select what you want. Here we go. So I put it on these people here, and as they walk towards us, it's gonna track and move. I can have it follow this guy here. I mean, it's a nice feature. It should just give you a better hit rate when you are using live view focusing. Try to take pictures of your kids or moving subjects, and frankly, it works well. It's pretty snappy. Now keep in mind, as much as I do like this new servo autofocusing in live view, and as smooth as it is, it's still not up to the standard the 70D has with its hybrid autofocusing. All right, so of course we're out here and we run into Mike Drew. And it gave us a good example because he's got his 70D and I've got the T6S, and we got a Calgary Flames flag over here on a high rise. And so we used the exact same lens, shot at the same settings, and side by side, Mike, they look basically identical, right? I mean,
same thing.
Yeah. So, you know, four extra megapixels. Yeah, maybe a little bit of room to crop, but we're not seeing a huge difference. Still, the Rebel series really does need an upgrade, and we have it now on the sensor. Now, it's inevitable that you're going to draw comparisons between the T6S and its closest competitor, the Nikon D5500. One of the big changes that I really like about the new T6s is this 24 megapixel sensor. Same as the Nikon, and unfortunately, the Canons do have an aliasing filter, so that low pass is going to still give us a little bit of softness. However, it is a big step up, and I am finding that images are clean, they're sharp. Now, when it comes to low light performance, we're finding that the 70D, the 70D Mark II sensor, you're still okay, even though they're higher end cameras. I know you're jealous of those 4 megapixels, but you are gonna get better high ISO performance in those sensors. And that makes sense, you know, the extra 4 million pixels here makes the pixel pitch smaller. We are getting a little bit of a noisier image here. But honestly, guys, looking at all the cameras combined, the D5500 sensor is still even better in low light. Still, I think the T6 cameras with their new sensor are a step in the right direction. And if you have a 7D Mark II and you're jealous now of those extra 4 megapixels that the Rebel users are getting, don't worry, your high ISO performance is still better. And those Rebels are topping out at 5 frames per second, so they're not gonna come anywhere close to that kind of speed for action, journalism, and wildlife shooting. All right, so we've got a good place here to test the autofocus. 19-point system, same as the 70D. Very nice step up for the Rebel cameras, which, you know, this is normally their weak spot. Now keep in mind though, that pesky Nikon D5500 still gave us 39 points with 3D focusing. Still, I'm gonna do a test, pulling focus from these people walking through this very obviously closed sidewalk and see what we get here. You know, all day today I've been using the autofocus. It is very impressive. I mean, it is quick. It's a great option. And in this price point, I mean, it's not to be unexpected. It's suitable. But still, we could get more zones, more points. I find the autofocusing points on this camera quite large and chunky. It's hard to really isolate spots, but overall, it's not bad. All right, guys, so it was an interesting experience shooting the T6S here today and the T6i. And I have a couple observations. I mean, you have to remember that one of the big things that I am enjoying here is we do finally have some huge upgrades. I mean, if you remember the T5i, our minute-long video really summed it up. There was really almost no difference whatsoever. So now we've got a very comparable sensor. It is competitive on the market. I did enjoy using it. Image quality is beautiful. That's a good plus point. Autofocusing has been improved as well. The cameras needed that. But, you know, it is a large, chunky Rebel camera body. Canon's going in a different direction. They're saying, let's make SLRs even bigger. And that's either a really stupid or a very bold move, considering that mirrorless cameras are so prevalent nowadays. You know, the camera, I liked handling it. I didn't really love the optical viewfinder as much, though, and that is such a big part of the SLR experience. So that's kind of a minus point there. Video capabilities, I expected to be better. And there's a lot of fierce competition. I mean, you look at the Nikon D5500, it does everything that this camera does in a lot of ways better, and it's smaller. Now, of course, the Canon SL1's a tiny camera, but nobody likes the grip, and again, the features are way behind compared to a camera like this. So I'm gonna leave it up to you guys what you think about a camera like this and if it's gonna fit what you need. Now, I know at home, you're probably kind of getting sick of hearing about the Sony a6000 over and over again, and as a camera reviewer, I'm even kind of getting tired of talking about it over and over again, but the fact is, it is the de facto camera of today. I mean, it's smaller than this, it's twice as fast, it's got similar autofocusing, great video capabilities, a sharper sensor. You know, I think the Canon Rebel T6S, this is going to really appeal to somebody who just likes using SLRs. They want the larger size, they're comfortable with the bigger body. It was a very stable platform, and if you're coming from another Rebel, this is a good natural upgrade. It's going to work great with your lenses, you're going to find the controls familiar, and there are some real substantial updates, especially in the T6S from a handling perspective. But, you know, if you're looking at a camera that's going to be compact, affordable, and lightweight, a Sony's going to do it for a lot less money, it's going to do it with a lot less size, and it's going to give you more features on paper. Remember, guys, check us out on Twitter, check us out on Instagram, subscribe to our channel, and talk to us. If you have feedback about what you think about new SLRs and, you know, the direction that Canon's going with their cameras, let us know that too. We can't wait to see you guys soon. See you later.